All right, quick break. Knock, knock. Who's there? Amazon Music. Amazon Music who? Amazon Music, where Prime members can listen to top comedy podcasts ad-free. No awkward interruptions, just nonstop laughs from your favorite shows. It's free, it's funny, and hey, it's better than my knock-knock jokes. Download the Amazon Music app and let the good times roll. Or go to amazon.com/ad-free comedy. That's amazon.com/ad-free comedy to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads.
Yeah, what changed my entire life was creating my own rules for life, because we have family systems that impose rules, society imposes rules, but they're really just arbitrary things that people have been blindly following for years. So it's like, I'm going to create my own rules for happiness. So yeah, maybe my ideal life means not making my bed. Who cares?
Right, exactly. What are some other examples of that you could just easily give so that people can see, like, no one dies if you fucking don't make your bed?
Yeah. So my primary value and rule for life is that I'm loyal to myself. So that way, if I'm saying no to something or setting a boundary, I don't feel guilty about it, because it's like, well, I'm protecting my own mental health. I'm protecting my own peace. I want to be happy and feel inner joy. So I'm protecting that fiercely with everything I have.
Do you ever feel like no matter what you do, it's not good enough? Like perfectionism is the only standard, yet you're still left feeling behind. Perfectionism keeps us stuck. It robs us of our peace, our joy, and our freedom to just be. That's why I created Beauty of Imperfection, Good is Enough, a guided workbook to help you let go of the pressure, quiet your inner critic, and start celebrating progress over perfection. Inside, you'll find journaling prompts, tools that remind you your worth has never depended on being perfect. It's time to embrace the beauty of imperfection, because good really is enough. And let me remind you, you are always worthy. You already are. Get your copy today. Emotionally unavailable. Welcome to Emotionally Unavailable, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of emotional availability and intimacy. I'm your host, Malisa Hepner, and I can't tell you how excited I am to have you join me on this journey of self-discovery and connection. Whether you're navigating the complexities of relationships or exploring your own emotional landscape, this podcast is here to inspire, empower, and entertain. So get cozy and let's explore the depths of human emotions together. Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Hope that you are doing well. I am doing well. Today's guest is Angie Hawkins. Let me first tell you a smidge about Angie, not in like the professional sense, but like what I learned about her through all of our bonding. She is also a Gemini sun. She is also a Leo moon. She's also every other placement exactly like mine, maybe different degrees, except our rising is different. How freaking crazy is that, right? So, as you may know, we really bonded. I've had such good luck meeting people that I'm just falling head over heels in love with, and she is one of them, and I feel so grateful. We are going to have a special little announcement to make about a collaboration that we have going on, but I'm not going to make that today. I'm going to wait a little bit. Okay, I'm going to read you her little bio. Angie Hawkins is an inner glow coach who transforms women from burned-out people-pleasers into lit-up powerhouses who fiercely radiate confidence and attract the love, happiness, and success they once chased. She is the author of Running in Slippers, a raw and vulnerable memoir about finding your resilience after emotional rock bottom. Angie has moved from Chicago to Hawaii on her own, jumped out of a helicopter and into the ocean Navy SEAL style, bungee jumped, skydived, and cliff jumped, yet is still terrified about allowing herself to be seen. And that's her Leo moon, okay? So, Angie, when you listen to this, just know I did order your little book. Sure did. Waiting. I think it's supposed to be delivered Thursday. And I'm excited about it. And what else did I want you guys to know? It's a really good conversation, like really good. We're actually going to record again today to talk about something more specific, since we just, loved each other so much and, just basically gave each other a bunch of accolades about how much we love each other through this episode. There are actionable takeaways, don't you worry. But, yeah, so we're going to record again. I'm really excited about that too. So, okay, I do want to offer a sensitive content warning. We are going to talk about the subject of suicide, which will not be the first time on this podcast, but we do talk about it, and not that much, though. Really not that much, and I think from a very empowered place. I don't feel like it got too dark. If you're not used to vulnerability, it may feel really heavy for you, but if you've been around here long enough, y'all remember Diana just laying it out on the ground. You know what I'm saying? If you haven't listened to that episode, you should go back and listen to it. But that's my sweet cousin sister. And, she talked about her attempt and whatever. And so we brush the subject, not because we wanted to avoid it, but, we were just so busy love bombing each other. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so I'm really excited for you guys to listen to this and get some actionable takeaways from it. And I love that Angie and I are like on the same track here. And yeah, I think you're going to enjoy even just hearing us connect and whatever. So anyway, I don't think that I need to stretch this out any longer, I guess. So yeah. I'm going to leave it at that, I guess. Here's me and Angie.
Emotionally unavailable. Okay, I'm going to go to your profile because there was a couple of things specifically that first of all, the connecting through vulnerability and a self-love so fierce, I don't give a what anyone thinks.
Yeah.
Couldn't relate to that more. Could not relate to that more. Honestly, just everything that you have here. Like, you hit rock bottom 5 years ago. Mine was just like a couple of years ago. You actually had a suicide attempt. I had a suicide plan. But all of the same shit that you're talking about, stopping people pleasing, setting boundaries, and the thing that just made my soul sing was like, overperforming for external validation. Because the thing that I talk about a lot is my unraveling really fucking started when I moved to education. I had been a full-time hospice social worker and I loved it, but I was just kind of tired of going in strangers' houses. I started to get older and feeling unsafe,
Yeah.
And so I still do a little bit of that part-time on the phone for bereavement, but I just didn't want to do that full-time anymore. And the unraveling happened because in education, it's a very thankless job and it's a very self-sacrificing, and they love the codependent people who are drawn to education. And it was not until after that I realized it's because the only way I survived was external validation, and I did not get that. Not a fucking day of that 7 years that I did. And it got worse, actually, because I worked for a couple of really fucking mean women who would say I did nothing. Oh, and I knew that wasn't true. I knew I was actually doing a phenomenal job, but I could not rest in that. The fact that they were shit talking me, that was it. Like, I could not deal with it. And the depression just went. Yeah. So I'm so excited to talk with you because
I think we have a lot of similarities in our experiences. Yes. Unfortunately. But I'm glad we're connecting.
I'm like, let's be excited about suicide. I mean, but God, it's such a taboo thing to talk about, even still, I feel like.
Oh, and that's why I talk about it. I don't necessarily enjoy talking about it because I've had conversations with people where I don't know. There's something about saying it out loud. It just brings me back to that moment. Mm-hmm. So there have been times I've started crying. So it's not that I necessarily enjoy talking about it, but I think a lot of people go through the things that we have and we're just not talking about it. So number one, I want people to know you're not alone. I think a lot of people have these thoughts and issues. You just wouldn't know because we're all hiding behind our happy face and our filters and edits on Instagram. And the other reason I share my story is because I went through the journey from self-loathing to self-love and thriving. So, because my whole thing when I was in my dark moment was I could not see hope for the future. And it's that sheer hopelessness that really gets you. So I share my story because I want people to know there is a brighter future. You just don't see it. Yeah, again, because you don't realize other people are going through this. So let's just talk about it and not make it so taboo.
Right. And I think too, one of the ways that I found out I was emotionally unavailable is because someone said like the way I retold my trauma all those years, because I was like a fucking stand-up comedian with it. But I
Yeah.
had no connection to those stories. None. I was
Mm.
basically talking about somebody else. Whereas now I cry without warning. Like, it's weird
Yeah.
still it's weird for me, but I do it even without apologizing, because like, I hate when people are like, sorry, I'm crying. Don't say you're
I
sorry, I'm
know.
crying. We
I
cry.
know, I always say that, like, never apologize for crying.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I feel like somehow it's become socially unacceptable to even cry. And it's like, why?
Yes.
We're human beings. Like, show your emotions, especially men. Like, I don't think less
Especially
of a
men.
man if he's crying. Like, if he's crying
No.
all of the time about like
Sure.
irrelevant things, yeah, maybe that's an issue.
It
But
feels
if
a little
you,
weird.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, that's dysfunctional. But if you're
Yeah.
just, it's like a display of feelings over something that's normal to grieve about or be sad
Yes.
about, what is wrong with that?
Right. But see, and I think this is important too, though, is that the world has this misconception that women have it easier in this way, that we are more free to share these feelings or just the display of emotion, and that's not true. Is it more expected from a woman? Yes. Like, everyone knows we have hormones and we have emotions, so when we can't control it, then you're going to see it. But
Yeah.
like, we're not really allowed to, because people are so fucking uncomfortable with emotion.
Oh, exactly. I was just going to say that because in my home growing up, even my mom was totally uncomfortable if I started crying or if I experienced any discomfort. And yeah, as an adult in society, most people are not comfortable with displays of emotion,
Mm-mm.
especially for men, but also from, excuse me, women.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, prior to me healing, I was not necessarily comfortable either. Like, grown-ups, kids, anyone, I I had a very good way of dealing with it because of a clinical background, but
Um,
inside, I did not like it. I was like, "Ooh," because now I know it's because I couldn't fix it, and it made me so uncomfortable that it made me feel ashamed that I couldn't do something to make it better. Now I realize, like, that's not your job, but
I
I
like
think
that you were able
logically
to
I knew
convey it
that,
that
but
way, though.
yeah, I
Um,
mean, but I
that's a
think
good way
that's
to
what
put
we're
it
all
into words.
doing.
Yeah.
And okay, so I'm wondering if your darkness was spurred on by, I obviously it's negative self-talk, but for me it was a very loud all the time, just telling me what a piece of shit I was in different ways, but I had just a lot going on up in my brain. Was that your experience as well?
Totally. Because when I was growing up, both of my parents were extremely emotionally unavailable,
Mhm.
therefore emotionally neglectful. So
Mhm.
as a child, I interpreted that as I don't deserve to be loved.
Mhm.
So that was always the internal thought stream going through my head. And to your point, it would come through in various ways, but that
Mhm.
was always there. And it was so prominent for so much of my life that it actually is, I want to say, a character in my book. I wrote a memoir. It's called Running in Slippers. It's about the most chaotic time period of my life. And I give my inner thoughts a voice constantly throughout my book to show how just basically mean I was to myself because I was just
Mhm.
constantly criticizing myself and telling myself I didn't deserve to be loved. And as most people are probably aware, your internal beliefs dictate your behaviors, which dictate what you're attracting into your life. So I was the cause of most of the issues in my life because of this negative thought stream going through my head.
And wasn't that the fucking game changer when you realized that?
Yes.
When I I feel so lucky because I also had like a spiritual awakening during my
Same.
understandings. Oh, see, I knew. We're like so connected, I swear to God. But like I it was tough to sit there, and really it was a horoscope that said there was two different ones. One, um figure out how you're the center of all the conflict in your life, and then two, uh this one was more gentle, but it said like just check in on how you respond when people don't meet your expectations. And both of those were just like earth-shattering for me because I did not see it before. I did not understand that I am viewing the world in this certain way and I'm so determined for it to be that way. That is always how I will receive. And then when I figured out like, oh, self-love is the only love, and then we share that with others, everything else is a biochemical response.
Yes.
Everything else is chemicals. This is love. And so whenever I hear people saying like they don't show up for me or just any of that shit that we put off on people because of the way we feel about ourselves, I'm like, "Oh, do you need some love?" Like, because I remember feeling like I loved everyone more than they loved me. I showed up better than they did. I was on the periphery of all of my relationships. Like I was the person they'd all come to for advice or a good time, but like not to connect. I wasn't connecting either, but like somehow,
Right.
some way they were worse at it than I was. You know what I
I
mean?
know. Oh, I know. And
It's
I
so
love how you're
embarrassing.
able to convey all these concepts so well. I feel like because I totally understand what you're saying, but sometimes I'm like, I don't even know how to describe, because the way you just described, like being on the periphery, that's how it feels.
It does. Like you're, and I, in some ways, it felt like a fringe friend, but like I also knew I made sure I was very important to them. I
Yes.
bought them gifts. I answered every phone call, every text. I ran errands for them. I mean, not every single friend, but like the people that I was like trying to get to love me, like to a certain extent, like I'm doing, constantly
Yes.
trying. And then they're like, what? Like I had a friend, I still have this friend, but she would say things like, but nobody asked you to do that. Oh my God, the rage I would feel because I'm like, that's not the fucking point. You can't be appreciative of something just because you didn't ask. Isn't that even better? Because I was raised by a narcissistic grandma along with addict
Mm,
parents who taught me like you should be thoughtful, you should be thinking ahead, you should be, in essence, walking around on fucking eggshells,
yes.
making sure my every whim is tended to.
Ah, yes. So familiar.
Good. Well, and I don't know. I like get obsessed with people online sometimes, and there was this. It's this weird thing. I don't really do this anymore, but in my heyday of crazy, there was a girl from like England or something, and I didn't discover her until after she passed away. It was a tragic like e-bike accident. Emily somebody, and I got obsessed because I I've always been drawn to people who are grieving, so I was like watching like her friends and family like post about her and stuff. It sounds
Yeah.
very psycho now, but at the time it was a thing I did. Anyway, I got really into her videos because she had been a huge mental health advocate in the UK. And I remember she talked about having gone inpatient a few times because she said she clarified it as like breakdown, like time to be inpatient when that was the only thing you could think about. And that's where I got where the darkness was just like, because I just decided, like, you know what? Truly, your kids are better off. Like, because I used to say, like, crazy mom's better than no mom because I don't have parents anymore because of their addictions. And so, like, I know what
Mm,
that feels like. So it's
yeah.
like, no, you got to be around. But then it got to where it was like, no, truly, like, you're fucking them up so bad. And all it was is I wasn't perfect and I didn't know how to accept that about myself.
Yes.
Is
That's
that
an
something
amazing
were
level
you
of
like
self-awareness.
covered in this aware, like as well, just like nonstop darkness?
Yeah, because my rock bottom moment, it was just my entire life had been that whole hamster wheel of chasing, performing, etc. So that in itself was exhausting. But
Mm.
then I had this 2.5 year period. It's like my boyfriend broke up with me. My dad passed away. It was thing after thing after thing, which in all honesty, that would have drove someone with good mental health really crazy, right? Because
Sure,
there's
yeah.
only so much one person can take. And that
Right.
was just it. I had the normal thoughts of I can't take this anymore, blah blah blah, because I think when things aren't going right and you are physically and emotionally stressed, those are like the normal thoughts one might have. But then
Mhm.
I just started going down this even darker path of, again, it was like the I don't deserve to be loved, I'm not important. And this is another stigma about suicide that I don't like, and is another reason I like to talk about this, because I feel like it's frequently labeled as selfish. But when
Mhm.
you are in that state of mind, like, you truly don't think anyone will care if you're gone. And
Right.
and I think that's so hard for other people to understand. Also, your emotional pain is so intense. It's no different than if your leg got cut off and you're bleeding out on your leg. You would be so focused on that pain. You wouldn't be thinking
Mhm.
about other people like, "Oh, I hope I don't die because I don't want to hurt my family's feelings."
Right.
So, suicide is just another form of extreme pain, and I think it's really hard for some people to understand that.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a person who's thrown the phrase out there, it just takes the pain and gives it to someone else. I mean, like when you're not the one at the center of all of the hurt, it's easy to say that stuff. On
Yeah.
the other side of this, I will say I believed that the relief that they would feel from my lack of fucking psycho shit would
Yeah.
outweigh any pain. Like I believe it's crazy now and it hurts me so much for that version of me that I got to that place where I really believed that A, I couldn't be any better than I was, and that B, that because I was imperfect. And I mean, I'm putting that lightly. I was not a great mom. I mean, there were some parts of me that were pretty good, but I was emotionally unavailable. I didn't know how to fucking sit with my kids in discomfort. I didn't know, like my daughter has gotten the absolute fucking worst version of me because she's only 11, and
Mhm.
my mental health got worse every year after she was born, not because of her, but work
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And she needed me in a way that my boys never did. And so it really triggered that I'm not enough thing, but
Yes.
I didn't realize, like, if I could have seen that that's what I was feeling a long time ago, obviously I would have dealt with it. I was just a very reactive person though. I lived in survival mode
Yeah.
24/7. I woke up in it, I went to sleep in it. So the second somebody came in and even just needed a normal thing from me, I'm flipping my shit because it's triggering my shame. Where I'm like, I'm not enough. I'm not enough. Another way you're fucking up. Another way you're fucking up. Like, mom, I got holes in these jeans. Do we have anything else? And I haven't done laundry. So, oh, great. And I mean, I'm flipping my shit 24/7. Like these poor children, the whole house was on eggshells. Trust. Like I didn't feel as sorry for my husband because he had a choice, but like my poor kids, like I was crazy. But even still, I wasn't physically harming them. Like there was lots of things I was doing okay or good at, and the only thing I could see was all the ways I was failing them. So again, I believed I got to the point where they would be much better off without me.
I could see that for sure. And also, it's interesting hearing you reflect on that. First of all, I think your self-awareness is amazing. And
Thank
also,
you.
it's never too late to change, because what you described, that's exactly how my mom was growing up. But she never went through that awakening to
Yeah.
change.
Well, and that's kind of what I was raised with too. And I think going through, I think in general, the more we learn of ourselves and the more compassion and love that we can extend to us, you are able to extend that a little more freely to others. But it's been a process, especially with my grandma. I mean, she's been gone for 10 years now. But with my parents, it's like, with the help of my grandma, we knew they were addicts. Like that made sense to me. I mean, yeah, I had the abandonment shit and there was always that, but you could have chosen me over drugs, but like
Yeah.
for the most part, I understood addiction and I watched the struggle. I watched the pain after relapse. Like I knew there was shame there. I knew there was so much pain. And so I'm like, it was easy to get to a place where I understood that really wasn't about me. I mean, there was still like inner child work I've had to do around that in the whole like spending my whole life trying to get people to make me feel special and chosen. Like that was definitely a daddy issue, like I
Yeah.
had to go do some work on that. But really, I think we all kind of have that no matter what your parents do. So that part was like easy. But my grandma, because it was really the ultimate betrayal to finally realize how toxic that household was. Like once I got old enough, and because I was like the golden child turned black sheep. And
Same.
so, yeah. So once
Not
you start to put
surprising.
those boundaries down, they fucking hate you. And
Yeah.
and then you're like, the fuck? What? I'm all of a sudden not good enough, or I think I'm too good for everyone, and blah 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 blah. All the things that they say. When I started to put the pieces together, that was really, I felt so much betrayal because I'm like, you were my hero. You were the one from your guidance that I would have credited any amount of success to. And then here I am like, no, I'm this way fucking in spite of you, not because of you,
Yes.
like just getting to that
Yeah.
place. But I've gotten to really through the help of guests on my show, like who come and we just have these great conversations. But I am okay with her now. Like I really feel at peace with understanding she went through the same shit I went through and she just didn't ever make the turn, and I feel really grateful that I did because now I'm empowering my children to make different decisions. And kids do fucking forgive you so easily. They really do. In fact, that's been a challenge with my oldest is the 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 shift between like his friends will be like, your mom, like she's so nice, and then they invalidate like his like venting or his pain or whatever. And I'm like, you're valid, bro. Like you are absolutely valid. I was real shitty. Like, so he didn't ever get the worst parts of me because he had moved out whenever I was really at the pinnacle of a mental
Okay.
health crisis. He's 22. And so, but like in childhood, he's the oldest, so he got all of the unreasonable expectations, the guilt, the shame, all of that. But by middle school, I had started to kind of shift, like in terms of, I think I'm expecting too much and I don't want him to feel like I did. And shame probably isn't the tool here. So, I mean, I was doing okay with him like in adolescence, but that early child, that's really affected him. And I'm like, you're so valid for that, dude. Don't ever let your friends compare their shit to your shit. Like your mother was not the mother you needed, and that's all you need to say.
I like your turnaround is so heartwarming to me. Congratulations.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I'm like, I still like external validation.
No, yeah, it's okay. You just don't need to rely on it.
Right. Exactly. So what was the shift for you?
So because I had an actual suicide attempt.
Mm-hmm.
I was unconscious in my shower for a day and a half.
Holy
I
shit.
somehow managed to text a friend, which in hindsight, I think was because your soul knows what you really want and who you
Mm-hmm.
really are. So in hindsight, I think that was my soul's way of keeping me alive. So I
Mm-hmm.
somehow managed to text a friend and she took me to the hospital. I was in the hospital for another day and a half. And when I was released from the hospital, this was during COVID. So
Oh,
all my
wow.
stuff was in plastic bags. So I didn't open
Mm-hmm.
anything up until I got out of the hospital. But I opened up the bag with my purse, which had my phone. And I turned on my phone and I was like out of pocket for 3 days. So there was a bunch of messages. And one of my friends was particularly concerned because I was supposed to go to a workshop that she had hosted in the middle of all of this. And I didn't show up.
Oh.
And she's like, are you okay? Are you okay? And so I was like, okay, I should probably call her. So I called her when I got home and I didn't want to talk about what had happened. Well, first of all, like the emotional intensity of
Sure.
beforehand was still there. Also,
Mm-hmm.
I was like extremely high because I basically overdosed on my anxiety medication. So I was still
Oh.
high and out of it. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm just gonna pretend like everything's okay and brush it off. But I get on
Mm-hmm.
the phone with her and have like another emotional breakdown. And I told her everything that happened. And I ended with, I can't believe I didn't die. And she said to me, "It's not your time." And it sent a chill through my body. Because again, I was like totally high, but I sobered up for a minute
Yeah.
because it was so profound. And I think that conversation was meant to be, because I'm not sure that I would have came to that conclusion on my own. But I was like, she's right. A lot of people do not get second chances with life. So this is an incredible opportunity to turn things around. And so I decided that I needed to get help. And traditional therapy had never worked for me. So I
Mm-hmm.
invested in myself. I hired a coach. And that's when I started actually doing the inner work, because the traditional therapy that I had done was just talk therapy. And it's like, I
Yeah.
can talk to a friend, but I need to make changes, and I need to make them relatively
Mm-hmm.
fast, because I am not in a good place.
Absolutely. And this is what I love because, uh, you know, I kind of forget about that fucking middle ground between deciding to live and then becoming this, like I remember I remember trying desperately to hold on, and I'm like listening to music I had no business listening to, but like trying to like, get creative and do stuff on my computer and whatever, but just like wailing, just crying because I had no coping skills, and every little
Oh,
frustration just sent me over the fucking edge. And that's the part that people are like, well, how did you get here? And I'm like, a lot of fucking crying until I got the right information to figure out like how to shut my fucking brain off. So I love that you found something that worked for you. What kind of stuff did they teach you?
well, basically, he he called it being a functional adult, which sounds ridiculous, learning how to be an adult as an adult, but
I get it.
because of all of our coping mechanisms are rooted either in being a child and or a teenager, and we just continue those habits throughout our lives. And so by learning how to be an adult and setting boundaries and learning how to communicate and learning how to trust myself and learning how to respect myself, and through actually doing actions, because I always had homework that I had to do. So that it wasn't
Yeah.
just talking to him. It's like I was consistently being these things in my day-to-day life, and over time that's what changed my internal belief system. Like, yes, I do deserve to be loved, I deserve to be respected, I'm important, I matter. And then it almost became to the point where it was effortless to behave that way. And then
Yes.
again, everything around me also changed because I was showing up differently in the world.
Abso-fucking-lutely. And so in that time, did you start to have that understanding of the way your brain works, the way your subconscious works, and that when you feed yourself that information, that's the reality that you create?
Yeah, and people, because you also mentioned spiritual awakening earlier, and people think healing and spiritual awakenings, like they all have these like sunshine and rainbow connotation to
Mhm.
them,
Mhm.
which on the other side, yes, it is sunshine and
It's
rainbows.
beautiful later.
But when you're going through it, it is not for the weak. Because and I went through my spiritual awakening during that healing period. And there was like a
Mhm.
2-year period I would cry on the floor like every day. And the emotional intensity would get less intense over time. But I think I cried every day for like 2 years because it
Yeah.
was really hard. And also, like to your point, I had these epiphanies like, oh, what I was doing wasn't working. And there's a lot of shame around that. And there's
Yeah.
also a lot of regret because I felt like, oh, I
Ugh.
wasted so much of my life being an idiot. But the truth is,
Remorse, grief.
yeah, like you don't
Yeah.
know what you don't know, but it
Mhm.
was a really rough 2 years. And again, I don't think it normally takes that long to learn how to be a functional adult, but I was coming from rock bottom and never knowing any of this stuff.
Right. And I think, yeah, it depends on what information you get when you get it, for sure. And I felt really lucky in hindsight because mine kind of started with, well, it started with the first awakening I had was when I realized like I was doing I think a new moon thing, and it was like an identity audit. And so I'm comparing who I'm trying to be to who I am, and I was like, "What the? I am already fucking her. Like I am all of these things that I'm trying to be. It just doesn't look perfect, but like I am that. And I had just learned, because I had been future self journaling for a couple of years, trying my fucking best to get my shit together, you know. But
Yeah.
all of my journaling was about this fucking woman who was just so love and light and zen and unbothered. And sure, that's a part of me, and I can be really, really soft and sweet when the time calls for it. But I am fiery. I have always been fiery, and I had to learn how to hold that. And I had kind of just gotten to where I could hold that. I was standing up to to some bitchy ass people at work, and I was feeling good about that. I was feeling empowered. And whenever I was like, but why am I trying so hard to be this person when I really like this part of me? And I'm like, I'm already all these things I'm trying to become. I just have to learn to hold this fire and not let it burn me and not extinguish it. Like, it is a beautiful part of me. And I can be soft and I can be these things. And there doesn't have to be a if or, like, I can be all of these things. And I have to learn how to fucking like this me right here, right now. That was the first one. And then I was so fucking, like, I'm not gonna say even lucky. I know this was divine intervention. One of my very earliest guests was a person who taught me about this book called the Finding Peace Workbook. And it broke shame down into different archetypes. And I could finally fucking understand what was
Mm.
happening in my brain, because the only part I knew was someone would say something and I'd freak the fuck out. But
Yes.
once I started with new information, my subconscious was like, hey, this is an opportunity to pay attention, you know? And so I did. And I was like, ooh, I hear it. I hear the royal. I hear the judge. I hear the martyr. I hear it. I hear it. I hear it. And then I could learn how to like experience feelings instead of thinking. That was the first thing, was like, I have to shut my fucking brain off. And then that whole process of learning how to even feel something, because God knows we don't know how to do that. But I feel really like, I'm grateful is the word, because shame was something I attacked first, and I could hear it anytime, even when I'm going back and feeling that remorse and the grief over what could have been. Because I think that's a natural part of healing, is that you're like, God, my fucking life would have been so much better. But that's why I love being spiritual, because all I have to say is like, but this was your path. Like, this is
Yes.
absolutely what you were supposed to be a psycho and then not be a psycho. So that's what we were supposed to do, baby. It's fine. You're fine. You're perfect.
Yeah, I'm also a big believer in divine timing and all of that stuff. So, yeah, and I think that helps, whether it's because I'm very woo-woo, and I know
Me.
that can be controversial, but whether it's true or not, at the very least, it helps you with acceptance. So,
Exactly. I think that's what, like, astrology really led me to the super fucking woo woo that I am now, because I was like, this makes sense to me. Like, this feels like a blueprint. And it, for the
mm,
first time since I left religion, I felt like I wasn't crazy for believing I had a purpose, and I wasn't crazy for feeling fundamentally supported by something. You know, like, I really wanted to believe in some sort of higher power, but it couldn't be what I had learned in childhood, because that didn't feel good. And I mean, the way I believe has evolved over the years. And whatever anybody chooses to believe in, totally fine. For me, it gives me so much peace, because I'm like, it's all meant to be, so it is fine.
yeah, and I think that's the purpose of religion, right? Because if you didn't believe in something, then the world would just feel like chaos all of the time. So you
Well,
need
what would be,
something to ground you.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because I think for me, I just constantly, and in that middle ground where I would call myself more like agnostic, like, I for sure didn't believe in the Christianity I was raised with, but like, was open, but not really believing anything else. I felt really lonely to my core at that time,
Mm,
because I didn't
yeah.
feel like I was connected to anything. Whereas now I can look back, and things that I would have credited maybe God for, or an angel or something, I can see how connected I've really been to my higher self my whole life. That's
Yes.
really, I think, what's guided me all this time, because I recognize my own voice now. But see, for so long, we were so separated from ourselves.
Yeah, after my attempt, I started working with my coach, and then a few months later, I was invited to be part of this intuition group, which at the time I was just basically like desperate for anything to help. But it
Mm-hmm.
ended up being one of the things that saved my life because I've always been intuitive, but I was so disconnected from my intuition, therefore
Mm-hmm.
disconnected from myself and my higher self. And now learning about all of that has totally changed my life. I mean, my level of self-trust is off the charts, whereas before,
Right.
like, I didn't trust myself at all.
Well, and would you say like because the thing that I find very common with people is that they think that their childhood had to look like mine to to have any first validation to being depressed or, mentally unwell or whatever. But I'm finding more often than not just having parents in a certain generation will get you there because like you said, emotionally unavailable. Nobody's fucking parents sat with them when they were having a feeling. Nobody.
Yeah.
Stop crying or I will give you something to cry about was said by a lot of fucking people. And that is because that's what was said to them too. And I get that, but like that whole generation did it. So you didn't have to be beaten or physically neglected to get to a place where you feel fucking fundamentally unlovable.
Right. Well, I have weird thoughts every once in a while. Because even because to your point, like emotional abuse is also abuse. Also, in
Mhm.
our generation, there was like I don't know about your family, but there was spanking at least. Like I
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
like punched or anything, but I was spanked, and that also I think comes with the shame and everything else physical abuse
And
does.
I think that's what spanking is intended to do.
Right. And then there was also things like, you know, we didn't wear seat belts. There wasn't like a separation of smoking and non-smoking. So I
Mhm.
think there was like just this whole environment of like we weren't important because like our emotional safety wasn't important, our physical safety wasn't important. And I know like those
Yeah,
weren't
I've
really
never thought of
values
it like
back
that.
then. I don't know how I can it was the whole smoking non-smoking section because someone
Mhm.
was like, can you believe we used to be able to smoke in restaurants? And I'm like, yeah, that's so weird because as children we were basically smokers, right? um
Oh yeah. Oh
and
my god. So much smoke.
and I remember like going back to like how my mom was, she was always angry, therefore she would always drive aggressively. And I remember feeling unsafe when she would drive.
Mhm.
And like those are all like the things wrapped up in my trauma. So like to your point, even though I wasn't like punched in the face or had anything major like that happen, it was all these little things of not feeling emotionally or physically safe that added up to this bigger trauma.
Exactly. And thank you for sharing that because so many people, well, first of all, we were also taught to minimalize our experiences and
Yes.
trivialize them. Somebody else always had it worse. The kids in China are starving. We get it. But like we really have been taught that unless it looked a certain way, you need to just get the fuck over it. And it happened to me too, and I'm fine. Let's
Right.
define fine, shall
You're
we?
right.
Shall we? Because I don't fucking think we're fine. I know I certainly wasn't. And I had a fucking master's degree, and on the outside was looking like my life was exactly what it was supposed to be. People said they were proud of me. You're so strong, I was told all the
Oh,
time.
yeah, you get rewarded, and I was on this other podcast once, and they took my bio from my website, and somewhere on my website, it says that I ran 16 marathons, and they were like, "Oh, that's so amazing," and I was like, "Well, the reason I ran marathons was to get the runner's high to dissociate." So I was
Uh huh.
basically
Uh huh.
the
You're punishing yourself too. Let's not
yeah.
play.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
I
and I
was a
still
runner. Yeah, we all
okay,
have that runner face. Yeah, I get it.
and
I get it.
yeah, but my point was like drugs are socially unacceptable, but yet overworking, running marathons, and all this bullshit are perfectly
Hmm.
fine. Or as a matter of fact, I have random things come up on my YouTube playlist, but this thing about it was about Tom Brady, but then they also started talking about Michael Jordan and Kobe and all these great athletes. And yes, they are great, and I admit that it takes a certain amount of discipline or whatever to be at that level. But on the other hand, I'm like, But are they really just perfectionists chasing validation? Like the way, and it may be just the way this particular segment was speaking to it, but it actually made them all sound extremely dysfunctional. And
Yes.
but yet we tend to reward
But we
that type of
need them.
behavior in society.
Well, and okay, you're the only person that I've ever really publicly spoken with this about because, like, my kids act like I'm crazy for over empathizing with the athletes. But knowing what I know now, I'm like, if they, oh God, I'm gonna get canceled for this, but like, if they had parents who parented the way that, like, we should parent, they probably wouldn't reach that level of success. And that's just that. Like, we wouldn't have these major fucking all-star sports people if they got what they needed. And I'm sorry, I know, I'm sure you had perfectly lovely parents. I get it. But like, I know what you have to put yourself through and what your parents put you through to achieve at that level. And I've never even achieved to that level. So like, I don't want to know what you went through for that.
Right.
But
Because we
you're not
self-punished
loved
in other
unless you
ways.
succeed.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. But I think it was me running and beating the shit out of myself mentally if I didn't reach a pace or I
Yep.
didn't, if I had to quit a workout before the end, all the things. I know what I went through, and I know what kids in general go through when their parents like push them to strive and overachieve, like putting them in so many activities and whatever. I'm going to shut up there because, it to each their own, but
No,
I
I agree.
do
I
know.
also think it's society imposed too. Like
Absolutely.
there are
It's the system.
there are pressures from family systems, but as a society, can you imagine, like, for instance, a football player, like if you win one Super Bowl, that's amazing, right? But then people are like, they expect you to do more and win more, and it's like, when does it end?
Absolutely. I don't remember if this was after the NBA finals or after the Super Bowl. I can't remember, but they said they were like, talking to whichever athlete this was, and they're like, "Yeah, I mean that moment's over. We're on to the next season."
See?
Like and I'm like, "You don't get to celebrate that for every minute of every day of your life that you were in this major like situation and you won? What the fuck?" But it's true. I mean, like I still have so much I can't say still, but like there was a while where the one full marathon I did not go well because I got hurt in the middle of training and my fucking ego was too big to drop down to the half because I had told everyone I was doing the full.
Yeah.
I ended up walking every minute of the last 6 miles. The whole thing took me 7 hours. It was atrocious. It took me forever to heal from that physically and emotionally. And now I'm like, well, hell yeah, I did a full marathon, but for so long I didn't even talk about it because I was like, well, it took me 7 hours.
Because it didn't go perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, nothing's worth it if it's not perfect.
Yep.
But even okay, so because I was raised by my grandma, her mother was really present too. And just shit like, make your bed every day, but like perfectly. Like if it's worth doing well. Because well meant perfect. Let's not play. And I would think about that every morning. I would not want to make my bed as an adult, and then I'd be like, well, I'll just throw the covers back, and then my great grandma would be right there. If it's worth doing well. And I'm like, fine, I'll fucking tuck the sheets in, but like we're doing all these things to receive programming that we're so unaware of, and that is how we end up in this situation where we don't know what the fuck to do because we've just listened to the voice of everyone our entire lives.
Yeah, what changed my entire life was creating my own rules for life because we have family systems that impose rules, society imposes rules, but they're really just arbitrary things that people have been blindly following for years. So it's like, I'm going to create my own rules for happiness. So yeah, maybe my ideal life means not making my bed. Who cares?
Right, exactly. What are some other examples of that you could just easily give so that people can see, like, no one dies if you fucking don't make your bed?
Yeah. So my primary value and rule for life is that I'm loyal to myself. So that way, if I'm saying no to something or setting a boundary, I don't feel guilty about it because it's like, well, I'm protecting my own mental health. I'm protecting my own peace. I want to be happy and feel inner joy. So I'm protecting that fiercely with everything I have.
Absolutely.
And all my other values kind of fall into line with that. I'm authentic. I don't filter myself. I don't sweep things under the rug because that was a huge thing in my family of origin. We swept things under the rug and we didn't talk about it, and that ruined my life. So now it's like I don't sweep things under the rug. I speak my truth. What are
Yeah,
some
and
of
if
my
there's anyone around making you feel like you're too much for your truth, then they are not meant to be around.
Yes. Or I used to be like, if I were in uncomfortable situations, I used to tolerate it. And now it's like, nope, I don't care how awkward this is. I'm either going to say something or just walk away, or like, I'm not making myself uncomfortable anymore for other people's comfort.
Absolutely, because that's a value that was instilled in us, is to
Yes.
prioritize the comfort of others. That's something I harp on a lot, man, because we're doing it without knowing it. For instance, sorry audience, I know I say this almost every fucking show, but you're going to hear it every other show. Requiring children to hug relatives.
Yes.
Like, if you wanted to hug them, you would just go fucking hug them. Or saying thank you in public. And listen, I still feel uncomfortable. This just happened again the other day. My daughter and I went to buy school shoes. Some little boomer decided to interject herself into our lives and talk to us. And I was in a particularly friendly mood, so I bantered with her for a second. And then she told my daughter, have an excellent school year or something like that. She knows that I don't give a shit if she looks impolite or whatever, because that's something I'm teaching her explicitly. Like, if you're
Yeah.
not comfortable, fucking ignore them. I don't care. I said thank you this time because I felt comfortable to say thank you, which I even discussed in the car afterwards. Like, hey, just so you know, I didn't think you were rude for not saying thank you. Even if you were, I didn't care. But like, I said thank you because we had been talking. She's like, yeah, I mean, whatever. But it's important to me that she gets it. I don't want any like subconscious programming happening in a situation like that. And
Yeah.
I didn't miss it. But those are the things, like, say thank you. Well, it's not her fault that people are fucking magnetized to her hair and want to come talk to her about it. You know what I mean? Like, I remember being that kid because I had strawberry blonde hair and it was really long because we were that family that didn't, you gotta have long hair. Not because of religion stuff. It was just like, it's so pretty. I don't care. I hate my hair. Anyway, so like adults would always, oh, your hair is beautiful. Say thank you. Say thank you. I didn't ask
Mm,
for them to come and talk to me, man. Why do I have to
yeah.
entertain the grown-ups? Like, fuck. So that's why I got really serious about that with her. Because I used to do it too. Because God knows you can't look like a bad mom. Because I would live for the compliments. Like when you put your kid in an uncomfortable situation like that,
Yeah.
and then they're like, you're doing it right, mama. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Now I'm like, you can think whatever you want about my parenting, but are you comfortable, sissy? Because that's what we care about.
Exactly.
But that's the kind of shit that they taught us. Serve to your own demise, prioritize the comfort of others.
Yes. And I followed those rules for an embarrassing amount of time.
Yeah, and I think we all are until we become hyper aware of it. And maybe that's not something that people are still able to identify, but I would say like if you're finding yourself resentful all the time, you're not living for yourself.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good sign because, again, I share my story because I don't want people to get to rock bottom before they get help. But there are signs that you know you're going down the wrong path, and that's actually a number one sign. You start feeling resentful about everything, and that is indicating that you're giving to many things outside of yourself and not giving to yourself.
Absolutely. Oh, God. First of all, I'm gonna need you to come back on soon. But
I would love
also,
that.
before we wrap up, is there anything, any last words, and tell us how we can find you, however you want to end it.
Ooh, I would say because what I'm all about, and this is what my coaching program is called, Shine from the Inside. Because we're
Mm.
all born with this inner light inside of us, but family system, society, it all dims our light. And my whole life mission is to help people understand like you have that light inside of you. You don't need to chase anything outside of you. So, my number one message that I would love people to walk away with is shine your own light. It's not as easy as not caring about what other people think. It's
Right.
definitely a process,
Yeah.
but yes, but my one piece of advice would be the one best place to start is do one thing a day that brings you joy. And again, that like gets you in the habit of actually doing things that get you into that mindset and can help transform in other ways. So
Mm.
that's what I would want everyone to walk away with. Shine your light and do one thing a day that brings you joy.
I love that. And where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram at Angie Hawkins 808, and my website is runninginslippers.com, and you can find information about my book, also my coaching program. I help women transform from seeking external love and approval to having that internal radiant confidence within so that they can finally feel free, happy, and loved for who they are. And first-time clients get a free call, and the whole purpose of the call is to help you. So we will talk, and I'll learn more about what you're struggling with. And Shine from the Inside is not for everybody. So if it's not for you, I know plenty of other coaches I can refer you to or other resources. Again, I'm all about people shining their light. So if I can't help you, I will find someone who can. And also, I don't know when this is airing, but I have an August special for $1,000 off. So if you hear this before the end of August, set up your call with me so we can talk about that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much I'm serious. I want to have you back on, but
I would love that. I know. I feel like we have so much to talk
amazing.
about.
I know. I'm like,
This
oh
didn't
my
even
God,
break
we need
the
3
surface.
hours. Exactly. I'm like, we need 3 hours, Angie. We need 3 hours. And I would also love to collaborate if there's ever a way to do that in the future.
Same. Let's set up like a brainstorming call.
For sure. Absolutely. Okay. I'm going to stop recording if you'll just hang out for a sec.
Hey, make sure you've given the show a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening to if you haven't already. And check out my website, empoweredwithmelisahepner.org, or my link tree on Instagram at melissa.hepner to check out my latest offers or workshops. Emotionally unavailable. All right, that's it from me. So make sure that you check out the show notes for links. And until next time, let's all just keep swimming. Emotionally unavailable.
INDEPE and cut.